equals 4/3 pi times the radius to the third power. So that's important. Notice that's a change from our other formulas with circles. They're usually squared. This is to the third power, so you want to make sure you have that. Put this in your notes. Again, this is for the volume of a sphere. A sphere is a three-dimensional version of a circle. We are very familiar with spheres. They're all over the place. Anything ball shaped like a ball is a sphere. Okay, let's do an example so we can see how the formula works. We're asked to find the volume of this sphere. Okay, so we're going to start by writing down our formula. Okay, then we make sure we have all the parts we need. Now the only thing we really need is the radius. As long as we have the radius of the circle, we're just fine and can find the volume of the sphere. So if we look at this example here, they gave us the diameter. They gave us all the way across, and we need the radius, which is just halfway across the sphere. So really that's pretty simple. All we do is divide our diameter in half. So 12 divided by 2 gives us 6. Okay, so I have a radius of 6. Now I can put that into my formula. I just go ahead and substitute 6 for the r. And then you just want to calculate as carefully as possible. Don't get in too big of a rush, because I know sometimes we make mistakes. Okay, so we have 4/3 pi times 6 to the third power. One thing you want to remember is that 6 to the third power means 6 times 6 times 6. It does not mean 6 times 3. You want to keep that in mind, because a lot of times people will mix that up. Okay, 6 to the third power, that gives me 216. So I have 4/3 times pi times 216. All right, our next step, we're just going to kind of move the pi down to the end here, and then calculate 4/3 times 216. Now, the way that we would calculate that is the thirds. Don't be intimidated by the fraction, because what you can do is just use dividing by 3. That's the same as thirds. So the way that I would calculate it, I'll come over here, is to go 4 times 216 and then divided by 3. So that's what you would want to put in your calculator. 4 times 216 divided by 3 gives me 288. So all of that kind of simplifies down to 288 pi. Now a lot of times, to keep it simple, they will just leave it in this form with the pi there. If they do, that is one form we can leave our answer in. Our answer would be 288 pi centimeters cubed. You can also go ahead and multiply by the pi if that's the form they want the answer in. And that 288 times pi gives me 904.778. I'm going to round that off to just 78. Okay, so two different forms you can write your answer in, but that's how we would do it. Make sure you have the radius, take it to the third power, meaning taking the number times itself 3 times. Then you do that number times 4/3, which means to go times 4 and then divide by 3, and then you can multiply by pi. Okay, this question takes a little different look at volume. Okay, they say the radius of a sphere, or find the radius of a sphere with a volume of 7,776 pi feet cubed, round to the nearest tenth of a foot. So we would still start, we would go, okay, sphere volume, we're working with volume of a sphere. So I would still start by writing down the formula for the volume of a sphere, because I know that's what I'm dealing with. However, notice there's one critical difference here. Instead of asking for the volume, they said, here's the volume. Now tell us what the radius of that sphere must have been. So instead, we still plug numbers into our formula, but instead of having r, we have v, the volume. So we replace the v portion with the 7,776 pi, and then that's equal to 4/3 pi r to the third. Okay, now our goal here is to find the radius. So basically we're solving an equation. We want to solve this equation for r to the third. One thing that I noticed right off is that I have a pi on both sides. So one thing I could do is divide by pi on this side, because that's all multiplication there. divide by pi on the opposite side. Now I don't have to worry about the pi's, which sometimes can worry us. Okay, now I'm down to 7,776 is equal to 4/3 times r to the third power. 4/3, the way that you remove 4/3 is by multiplying by its reciprocal, 3/4. Okay, so what we do basically is multiply by 3/4 here, which cancels the 4 and the 3. Do the same on the opposite side, times 3/4. Okay, that leaves me with r to the third equals, now a lot of people will go, I hate that fraction thing. Again, just the way you would calculate that is multiply by the number on top, divide by the 4 in the bottom. So you would do 7,776 times 3 and then divide by 4. Okay, that leaves me with 5,832. Now I'm down to, I have a problem here. I have this r to the third power, and some people mistakenly think that to remove that, you divide by 3, but it's not multiplying by 3. It's taking it to the third power. Well, we want to do the opposite of taking it to the third power, and the opposite of that is to take it to the 1/3 power. What that does is it cancels our powers here, but remember that also means we have to take the other side to the 1/3 power. So I'm down to r equals, but I need to find out what 5,832 to the 1/3 power is. So I'm going to pull up my calculator on my computer and show you what steps you would go through to find that. If you have a handheld calculator, they're probably similar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first put in the number 5,832. Okay. Then I'm raising it to a power, so I want to push this x to the y button, right? And then I want to put 1/3, so I'm going to put parentheses, 1 divided by 3, parentheses. See how that says 5,832 to the 1/3 power. It has 0.33333. I just hit equals, and I get 18. Okay, so make sure it asks that I got what I asked for. I found the radius, and that is that what it wanted? Yes, find the radius. So again, we take the formula for volume, we substitute our volume in, equals 4/3 pi r to the third power. We can cancel the pi's from each side using division. Next, I multiply both sides by 3/4 to remove the 4/3 from the r over here. And to do that, I took my 776 times 3 divided by 4. That left me with 5,832 equals r to the third power. To remove a third power, you have to go to the 1/3 power. So that's what we did to get r by itself. And then we showed how on the calculator you can take 5,832 to the 1/3 power. It's also called the cube root, in case you see that terminology somewhere.